Wow, another one of these podcasts. I really need to let the poison out. I had to record this after yet again another injustice, one of many, one that's been going on in this country for so long, and yet people want to tell me, Tin, you need to stop making it about race. It's not about race. It's everywhere. Everybody suffers. Okay, let me calm down just a bit. I want to get to what sparked this need for this new cast for me to get my feelings out, and I want to get it all eloquently said in the 30 minutes I'm allowed on Spreaker. Basically, my cousin, who is a very sweet guy, very articulate man, very loving, compassionate father, husband, family man, works hard as a teacher up in New York, made a simple point that he is tired of seeing in his Facebook feed such blatant, horrible racist stuff involving the Eric Garner death. Now, if you're listening to this cast and you don't know who Eric Garner is by this point, I don't know what to tell you. But basically, to break it down, a black male who was allegedly being arrested for allegedly selling loose cigarettes was put in chokehold, told the officer who put him in the chokehold he can't breathe, and died. His last words was, "I can't breathe." No indictment for the officer, even though the chokehold he used was illegal, even though it was caught on body cam. So, sorry, President Obama, your body cam bill is not going to do jack shit. This is on top of the Mike Brown case, which, like I said, Mike Brown was not some innocent little kid, but he didn't deserve to be shot 6 times. On top of the little boy who was 12 years old holding a BB gun, and I'm trying not to cry, 12 years old, and shot dead because the officer said he couldn't tell that it was not a BB gun. This is the same officer who had issues in another police department that this new police department that hired him didn't even bother to check for. And because of that, a 12-year-old boy is dead. I could go on. 7-year-old in Florida who the police stormed the wrong apartment, fired first, and killed a 7-year-old little girl. We can talk about Trayvon Martin, who was just in the wrong neighborhood wearing a hoodie. Jordan Davis sitting in a gas station, playing rap music too loud. Yet people tell me, Tim, why is it about race? Because it is. Because there are black families burying their children at 7 and 10 and 18. There's families going this holiday without their father. Because it's easier to kill a person with brown skin, and I'm not just saying black, but anybody who doesn't fit into that American stereotype. We're as good as fucked in this country. And I'm sorry, I have to get it out there. We are as good as fucked because our lives do not have the same value as others. And you can look at me and you can call yourself a friend of mine and you know me. Anybody who listens to this cast, who views me as your friend, knows that I try my hardest to find balance. That I try my hardest to like people first, and then if they prove that I need to dislike them, that's when I jump into that. I don't meet somebody and automatically off the bat hate them. I don't look at their skin tone. I don't look at their size. I don't look at any of those superficial things because humans are humans. We separate ourselves by culture. We separate ourselves by religion. And we separate ourselves by race. But how is it bad when I bring up the fact that we are burying our brown children over and over again to make it clear that it's not okay? How is that more racist than somebody targeting them in the first place? Why am I supposed to shut up about my feelings, about my fear for my son, who is going to be double digits next year? He's going to be 10. Yeah, I wouldn't buy him a BB gun, but my family hunts. So let's say my little boy is walking around with a hunting rifle because his uncles hunt, because his grandfathers used to hunt. Am I supposed to worry that a normal activity that certain little kids get to enjoy, but if he's out there with a gun and somebody with the wrong mentality sees him, whether they're a police officer or no, they have the right to shoot them? Maybe say self-defense because the kid had a gun in his hand? That's the kind of fear that I should not have to live with in this country, yet I do. That's the kind of bullshit that we put up with. And we're told, oh, you need to step back. It's not about race. It's the media. No. This has been ongoing since back in the day. I'm bringing it back to the Reclamation. Back since past the Civil War, when the South lost, and they were like, okay, we can't have slaves anymore. We're not going to make your lives any better. Lynch mobs. I can pull up, and it's horrific, pictures of how they hung young black men, black women, black children. How Emmett Till was so horribly disfigured when they murdered him for whistling at a white woman. This is not new. The only thing new about it is the fact that we have cameras on our phones, that we have Facebook and social media that can keep spreading the word about these horrible acts. When you got people tweeting the new hashtag of white crime and while white, because at least some of them get it. Some people get that if you're in a car and you're doing something illegal and there might be 4 white people in the car and 1 black person, guess who's getting harassed? Guess who they're going to try to pin it, even if the black person ain't a driver? Now, I've had people who I've considered friends for the longest time who have sadly disappointed me of late. And if you feel I'm speaking to you when you hear this, you might just be right. Because you'll say things like, Tin, I don't see why race is always brought up. I don't see why it matters. I don't see racism. Or I'm going through my own stuff. And I'm not saying racism is only for black people. You should know better than that. I know that people of all skin tones, of all walks of life, have suffered through some kind of discrimination. So let's get that right off the bat. And I hate that fucking argument. I really do. Anybody who comes to me with that argument, I'm shutting you out. Because it's ridiculous. I've never said in my rants ever against racism that I stand for anybody being racist. In fact, people can check my Facebook wall. Not even 2 months ago, I was going after 2 black women who were trying to tell a white mother of a biracial child that she has no say because everything's handed to her. I don't accept racism on any level. But if you're going to tell me that I should ignore a pattern that is killing our kids, you're crazy. I'm not doing it no more. I'm not going to stay the meek, quiet woman when it comes to stuff like this because I'm a mother. I'm a mother who will have a teenage son who has brown skin. I'm a mother who has already had to shield my baby from ignorant comments by people who don't understand what a biracial kid is. I've had people say racial terms to my son already. Do you know what that feels like? If you're listening to this and know what that feels like, then I know you would never say to me, it's not about race. But if you can look at your son and know that they can walk around one day and not be accused of being a ne'er-do-well, not have to worry about them being shot, then you need to shut up, sit back, and listen. I'm not saying you can never understand. I'm not one of those people that say, you can't live this, so you can't understand this. I'm saying if you wanted to understand it, you would try. You would listen. You would hear the stories. All of us have stories. I wrote on my Facebook page the other day one of the most horrific things I went through on Staten Island. I was 14 years old, freshman year of Wagner High School. I come home like I did every day, same path, past that one house with the damn ducks and the geese. I remember telling my friend Millie back in the day about the night I came home from a party and those geese honked at me. I didn't even see them and scared the crap out of me. I can still hear the way she giggled at the time I told that story. But for all I knew, it was just another family who owned geese that owned that house. So I get home, I get in the door, there's a New York detective there with my mom. Matter of fact, I believe there were 2. They start asking me questions. What do I know about the neighbor up the street? I'm like, oh, the guy with the geese? I don't know much about him or who lives with him. Why? You find out from the detective that this guy, your neighbor, never says boo to you. I've never waved hi, never even talked to him. I would go to school, come home, go to school, come home. This guy would watch me walking, going to school, come home. Watch my sisters and mother, going to work, come home, go to school, come home. He wanted to firebomb our house. He actually tried to hire some undercover detectives, and thank God that they were not murderers and didn't agree with his racial views, because he tried to hire 2 undercover detectives to help burn us alive in our house because he did not want black families living in his block. And you know what the sadder part is? The guy accused of this, the guy who they finally arrested for this, was a former NYPD. So somebody who was paid to protect and serve decided that a house with a single mom with 3 little black girls in it were not good enough, and was so hateful that we were in his neighborhood that he was going to burn our house down. That's the kind of racism that I've lived with. And even today, I get it subtly. Stuff that I normally just ignore because it's people's ignorance. The other day, I went to the corner store. I bought some milk, a couple of other items for the house to keep us over, because I do grocery shopping like once or twice a month. I'm not a big shopper. So the corner grocery store is a godsend because I can get a loaf of bread, some milk, and be done. So I'm paying for my items. And this lady, and I'm going to say it, she's a big white lady, comes in, looks at me as I'm putting my stuff on the counter, looks at the little Indian lady that's running the shop, and says, "I didn't think you took food stamps." Now, the Indian lady was trying to be polite about it. I know she probably gets that kind of ignorance on a daily basis. I looked at her, I pulled out my bank debit card because I'm not on food stamps, and I paid for my items. I didn't say anything to her because it's not worth it. There are certain battles that you just need to walk away from, because that kind of ignorance is something that's their burden. It's not me. It's not mine. I would never assume that just because somebody's black that they're on food stamps, but there are others that do. They see you buying food and they assume that you're already on food stamps. I have people who ask me how I'm taking care of my rent because I'm a single mom. They assume I'm on Section 8. I can guarantee you that there are at least a few people in this block who think I'm doing something illegally. And it's a shame, but that's a battle that I refuse to take on, because I can't fight that mentality. What I can speak up about is our little boys and our men being killed. And I had friends who make jokes. They try to lighten the situation, and I love you guys to death, but you gotta understand that this is too much. It pained me before I became a mom. It scares the hell out of me now that I'm a mom. I don't want to bury my son because somebody thought that it's okay to shoot him or put him in a legal hold because they don't know how to follow their own damn procedures. Okay? I don't care where you side with on certain issues between law enforcement and perps. And yes, I know the lingo because I have NYPD in my family and I'm friends with officers. I respect most of the men and women who wear a badge. I would never disparage a police officer because they put their lives on the line. But just like every point in life, you have good and you have bad. And Officer Pantiago, or however the hell you say his name, I'm sorry if you think I'm being disrespectful, but considering the source, I don't care. When you put somebody in an illegal chokehold, the chokehold you knew was banned, you were not following your own procedures. And then you have people who were on my cousin's thread, which he unfortunately deleted because it did turn into a powder keg. And I do admit that I added some fuel to that fire because the pattern is there. The pattern of young black men and older black men dying from the police is there. But some guy decides to say, well, there was a black officer there and she was in charge of the whole thing and she didn't stop it. So that makes it okay. That makes it non-racial at all. Alright, so even if I can ignore that ridiculousness, you go on the same poster who I'm pretty sure that if I ever met him, I would not like him. And that's sad, just from his mentality. Going on about how he watched the riots and the protests in both Ferguson and New York and it makes him cry. I hope he gets this upset when hooligans from sporting teams, from college on up to the NFL, NBL, MHL, and all the rest.